Hi, it's Bill here. I'd like to talk about the chess rules. So first of all, let's look at setting up the board. This is the starting position. The white player has 16 white pieces, while the black player has 16 black pieces. White always moves first. Each player has 2 rooks. The rooks start in the corners. Each player has 2 knights. The knights start next to the rooks. Each player has 2 bishops. The bishops start next to the knights. Each player has 1 queen. The queen always starts on its own colour. Each player has 1 king. The king goes on the remaining square. The 2 kings face each other. Rook moves. The rook moves orthogonally any number of squares, that means straight. It moves north, east, south and west through the sides of the squares. It cannot jump over a piece. The rook is worth roughly 5 pawns. The rook captures all the pawns, so this is just a practice exercise. So the rook moves up, moves on top of the pawn's out of the game. Rook captures the next pawn, rook captures the next pawn, rook goes sideways, rook moves up, rook goes sideways, rook moves backwards, rook moves sideways. Bishop moves. The bishop moves diagonally any number of squares. It can move northeast, southeast, southwest and northwest through the corners of the squares. It cannot jump over a piece. The bishop is worth roughly 3 pawns. Okay, now the bishop captures all the pawns. So takes the first one, the next one, now it moves backwards, then up, back, up and up. Queen moves. The queen moves any number of squares in any direction. Queen captures. It cannot jump over a piece. The queen is worth roughly 9 pawns. It can move north, northeast, east, southeast, south, southwest, west and south and northwest. So it can move into up to 8 different directions. It's a bit like an octopus. The queen captures all the pawns. So it moves like a rook, then it moves like a bishop, then it moves like a rook, then it moves like a bishop, then it moves like a rook, then a bishop, then a rook. So the queen combines the moves of a rook and bishop. So anything a rook and bishop can do, a queen can do. King moves. The king moves 1 square in any direction. The king captures all the pawns. The king is of infinite value. So one by one, the king takes all the black pieces. Knight moves. The knight moves in a 3 by 1 L shape. It always changes the colour of its square. It can jump over a piece, though the piece is not captured. The knight is worth roughly 3 pawns. So when the knight is in or near the middle of the board, it can move to 8 different squares. The knight captures all the pawns. So the knight hops around, it's always changing colour, and it moves in the L shape. Pawn moves. The pawn moves 1 square forward at a time. On its first move, it may move 2 squares. Captures 1 square diagonally to either side. The pawn is worth roughly 1 point. So in the scale of the values of pieces, a point equals 1 pawn. So the pawn goes 2 squares in this case. Promotion. The pawn is on the 7th rank. When it reaches the end, it promotes to a queen. Under promotion. It is usually promoted to a queen, but could also be promoted to a knight, bishop or rook. So, in this case, the pawn promotes to a knight. White under promotes a rook to avoid stalemate, which we'll look at later on. So the pawn promotes to a rook. White under promotes to a bishop. En passant. En passant is a special type of pawn capture. White has a pawn on his 5th rank. So counting from the white end, the pawn is on the 5th rank. Black does a double pawn move. The white pawn moves to 1 square behind the black pawn, where it would be if it was taking the pawn if it had moved 1 square. The black pawn is removed from the board. So en passant is the only time that a piece captures, but it moves to a different square than where the captured unit was on. Castling, position before castling. Position after castling, queenside. Position before castling. Position after castling, kingside. You cannot castle out of check, into check, through check. Well, it begs the question, we haven't covered check yet. So check is when a king is in danger of being captured. White cannot castle here as the white king is in check. However, if he evades the check without moving the king, say by blocking with the knight, he may castle later. So white blocks the bishop with the knight, and then later on he may be able to castle. White cannot castle here, as it would be into check from the black bishop. So when you castle, you end up on the G1 square, which is under attack by the bishop. White cannot castle here, as the king would be moving through check from the black bishop. The king cannot pass over any attack squares. So it's a bit like when you castle, you're moving 2 squares with the king, so you're going 1, 2. So neither of those squares can be attacked or controlled by your opponent. You can castle if the rook moves over an attack square, but not the king. So here it's fine for white to castle. Oops, castling's not working 100%. This rook should have jumped over to here. You cannot castle once you have moved the king, even if the king returns to its home square. So white moves the king, later on he goes back, black moves the king, white moves back. Now white will be unable to castle because he has moved the king. You cannot castle with a rook that has moved, but you can still castle with the other rook if it has not moved. You cannot castle if both rooks have moved. White moves the queen rook, but he can still castle with the other rook. Drawing a chess game. There are 5 ways in which a game can be drawn. Stalemate. Stalemate is when a player has no legal moves, but is not in check, hence it is a draw. So here, black has no moves, as all the squares the king can move to are controlled by white. Insufficient checkmate material. If neither side has enough material to checkmate, the game is drawn. This includes king versus king, and king and minor piece versus king. A minor piece is a bishop or knight. 5 points or more, using the values of the pieces, which we haven't covered yet, are enough to checkmate. While the pawn is present, there is always a possibility it can promote to a queen. So king and bishop against king is a draw, as is king and knight against king. Draw by agreement. Players can agree to a draw. A player can offer a draw after a move, the opponent can accept the offer or make a move. If a move is made in response, the draw offer becomes invalid. It's been out of date. It becomes out of date. Triple repetition. The same position occurs 3 times with the same player to move. The game is drawn. This is called triple repetition. A common form of this is perpetual check. So here, white's in check. So he moves in the corner. Black checks again. White moves. Black checks. White moves. And so on. So to stop the game going forever, triple repetition rule was invented. So if you have the same position 3 times, it is a draw. 50 move rule. If 50 moves pass without either side making a pawn move or capture, the game is drawn. This usually happens in endings without pawns or with blocked pawns. So an example might be a rook against knight, and white could try and win against best defence. He won't be able to win, and he could try for 50 moves, and after that the game is declared a draw. Escaping check. Okay, so check is when the king is under attack. There are 3 ways to escape check. Capture the checking piece, moving the king to a safe square, blocking the checking piece. So in this case, the king can move to one of 2 safe squares, f7 and h7. Escaping with a capture. The white king is in check from the rook. White can escape check by capturing the black rook with his rook. Escaping by moving to a safe square. The white king is in check from the rook. He can escape by moving to a safe square. Escaping by blocking. The white king is in check from the rook. White can escape by blocking the rook by moving his own rook. Checkmate. If check cannot be escaped, it is checkmate and the game is over. So in this case, white's in check from the rook. He can't move to a safe square. He can't take the rook. He can't block. So it is checkmate. And thank you for watching.